Alexander the Great was the best king in history. That's why he's known as Alexander the Great.
No, you're wrong. Joseph II was the best king in history. He was the most unselfish king.
I think you both are wrong. Lalitaditya was the greatest king of all.
Lalita what?
Lalitaditya. He was known as the youngest king of Kashmir.
How do you know?
His stories were mentioned in Kalhan's Rajtarangani, the first historian of Kashmir.
Ooh, cool name.
Do you want to find out more about him?
Sure.
Kashmir, the northern Himalayan region of the Indian subcontinent, got its name from Kashyap Rishi. In the 8th century, Karkota Empire established themselves as rulers of Kashmir. Kashmir grew as an imperial power under the Karkotas. The dynasty was established by Lalitavardhan. Chandrapida was succeeded by Lalitaditya Muktapida. While in Tibet, the Tibetans were training for invasion, and on the western front, the Arab were planning for plunder.
Gold and riches await us in Hindustan. They are ours for taking. On to Hindustan!
But someone was ready to save India from these barbarians. Lalitaditya had a wise and alert advisor named Mitra Sharma.
Maharaj, Mumuni has sent one division of his army to Ganjot and is marching towards our city with the other.
Good. That will make our task easier. We shall attack him and make sure he thinks twice before setting foot on our soil again.
Mumuni thought that he could defeat Lalitaditya in no time and conquer Kashmir, but little did he know that Lalitaditya himself led the attack. The valiant Kashmiri soldiers routed the barbarians in no time. He proved himself to be the dynasty's strongest leader.
Mitra Sharma, all celebrations must cease now. If Kshatriya's sword remains unused for long, it gathers rust.
Lalitaditya realized that by his conquest, he can bring small kingdoms together to make one united front against Arabs and Tibetans. His expansions were thoughtful and not just barbaric expansions. Lalitaditya's Digvijay began with the subjection of the hill tribes.
Glory to Raja Lalitaditya!
Lalitaditya's Digvijay began with the subjection of the hill tribes of Kashmir, like the Daradas, the Kambojas, and the Tukharas. In the land of the Tukharas were Turks. Lalitaditya came across an extremely intelligent Turk Buddhist named Chankun.
Will you become one of my ministers, Chankun?
It would be an honor to serve a monarch like you, Lalitaditya.
After this campaign, Lalitaditya turned his attention towards the kings of the plains, of whom Yashovarman, the king of Kannauj, was the most powerful.
Our armies are well matched, Mitra Sharma. We have the upper hand, no doubt, but the soldiers of Kannauj are by no mean warriors.
Isn't it a pity that they have to be slain?
That lies in our hands. As I declared war, so shall I call for peace, Mitra Sharma?
A messenger carried Lalitaditya's peace proposals to the opposite camp. Yashovarman of Kannauj was the most powerful king of central India. He was a brave warrior, and he has the credits of crushing the Tibets when they tried to move against central Indian kingdoms. Although he fought well, but Lalitaditya was unstoppable.
I am a messenger. Lalitaditya urges you to sign a treaty of peace and friendship to put an end to this wanton bloodshed.
You will hear from us tomorrow. You may go now.
Later, when Yashovarman conferred with his general,
Dear generals, Lalitaditya has a powerful army, no doubt, but he lacks the will to fight.
That may be true, Maharaj, but our army may not be able to hold out much longer.
Ministers, what do you suggest?
Let us sign the treaty, Maharaj. I will draft it to our advantage.
The next day, Yashovarman sent the treaty with the messenger.
This being the treaty of the peace concluded between Maharaja Yashovarman and Maharaja Lalitaditya.
I beg your pardon, Minister. Shouldn't it read between Maharaja Lalitaditya and Maharaja Yashovarman, our emperor being the more powerful of the two?
The request for a treaty came from him. His name could not go first.
Then I must have a word with the Emperor Lalitaditya before we proceed any further. Our proposal stands withdrawn. Let the battle continue and let it to be fought to the finish.
The proposal was withdrawn. The battle between Lalitaditya and Yashovarman continued. Yashovarman was defeated and then taken captive.
Our emperor now becomes the overlord of all kings who accepted Yashovarman's suzerainty.
Jonkin is right. They may consider themselves independent now. We must march out and establish our authority.
Bengal was overrun without a fight. After conquering Orissa and annexing all the territory as far as the eastern sea, Lalitaditya turned southwest, where Queen Ratha of Karnataka surrendered without offering any resistance.
I am grateful to you, gracious Queen. By your act, you have prevented unnecessary loss of lives. Jonkin, our presence here merits a memorial, a unique memorial.
Leave it to me, Maharaj. I shall begin work on it at once.
Jonkin chose to build a temple in which he employed a rare device. The idol lies in mid-air. It's a miracle!
It is no miracle. The pull of two powerful magnets, one in the roof and the other in the floor, keep the idol suspended in midair. The idol represents Lord Narsimha killing the Asura Hiranyakashipu.
Neither on the earth nor in the sky. Marvelous!
From Karnataka, Lalitaditya turned northwards. On the homeward march, he annexed the kingdoms on the Konkan and Dwaraka on the western coast. A tedious march further northwards brought Lalitaditya's forces to the borders of the Great Desert.
The stronghold of the desert chief lies straight ahead, but this desert is deadly, Maharaj. That will take us over 100 days. There is a short and safe route right through the desert, but it is not known to me. We will leave our elephants behind. Water is scarce even along the long route.
We have an arduous journey ahead of us. Water the animals and let the soldiers take some rest.
The camp was pitched, and the attendants watered the horses and elephants. The next morning,
Who is that staggering out of the desert? Let us go and find out. Please take me to King Lalitaditya immediately.
Why are you here and in this condition?
I am Dharmapriya, the minister of the desert chief. I advise my king to surrender to you in his own interest.
How did you survive?
The thirst for revenge has kept me alive. With my help, you can defeat him with ease. There is a little-known route through the desert. With my guidance, you can take the enemy by surprise in 15 days.
Should we accept Dharmapriya's offer, Jonkin?
He is a stranger. I would be cautious, Maharaj.
Dharmapriya led Lalitaditya's army into the desert. However, on the 15th day,
We have run out of water, but the end of the desert is nowhere in sight.
Dharmapriya, 15 days have gone by. How far is it from here?
Do you mean the realm of my chief, or the realm of the jaws of death? O conqueror of the world, I mutilated myself to trick you into entering the jaws of death. I am loved by my master, and I am willing to lay down my life to save his. But who will save you, O emperor of the world?
I will kill the deceiver. No, you will not. I admire his loyalty to his chief. I am invincible. It is you who will be without a savior for all your loyalty.
in In the next few days, the scorching heat of the desert started taking its toll. At the foot of a sand dune, something caught Lalitaditya's attention. He saw dried blades of grass. Lalitaditya hurled a spear into the ground with all the force he could muster. A few particles of sand were stuck to the blade of the spear. Lalitaditya made his soldiers dig up the ground. The soldiers jumped in joy, for they found water. Having quenched their thirst, Lalitaditya's soldiers marched out of the desert with renewed vigor. Stunned to see them come through the desert alive, the chief meekly surrendered himself. Lalitaditya roared, "Now on to Punjab, my men!" The campaign had been a long one, and his men were weary, but Lalitaditya was relentless. He led them until they came to a river. But Lalitaditya had no intention of letting a mere river come between him and the successful completion of his Digvijay. He asked Jankun how to get across the river, and in reply Jankun said, "I will find a way." Jankun marched upstream and found the shallow point of the river. He said, "I was right. The army can cross at this point." After carefully testing the narrow, shallow stretch, Jankun led the army across the river. Taken by surprise, the Raja offered no resistance whatsoever. Having fulfilled his dream with the minimum of bloodshed, Lalitaditya returned to Kashmir. In Kashmir, Lalitaditya spotted ill-fed farmers. When Lalitaditya reached the farmers' fields, he asked Jankun if he could invent a device that would irrigate the fields. The device that Jankun had in mind were Persian wheels built on riverbanks to lift water to the fields. The problems of the farmers were solved, and the farmers realized that Lalitaditya has foresight and a fine sense of priorities. Later that day, Lalitaditya was brought up with some bad news. The Tibetans were planning to attack them. So, Lalitaditya marched to the inhospitable land of Tibet, and, in one fierce foray, wiped out any dreams of conquest they might harbor. While Lalitaditya was away in the land of the Tibetans, Mumuni, the Arab king, advanced to Punch. Now he was planning to attack him. Mumuni's army could not withstand Lalitaditya's well-trained army.
Let them go. They are not willing to fight. Besides, a true Kshatriya does not attack the dwellings of people. Our dharma forbids it.
Jankun was right. Mumuni returned again and again. Lalitaditya had to fight 3 battles before he could finally subdue them. Lalitaditya spent his entire life in relentless crusades to protect his land, its people, and its culture. Lalitaditya created a beautiful capital named Pari Haspur, located near Srinagar. He built the Sun Temple, which was an excellent example of Kashmiri architecture. Before taking sannyas, he gave his crown to his son Lalitaditya. He came to the throne at a time when the country needed him. He successfully defeated invaders. He brought everything together under the sway of one authority, the benevolent throne of Kashmir.
What did you think about the video? Do you think that Lalitaditya was the greatest king of all?
Yes, he is the greatest king I have ever heard of. I can't believe our historians abandoned him. Thanks for bringing this up.
We owe a great deal to this amazing king, Lalitaditya.